Okay, let's start with our first technique, oral presentations. Let's say we want a technical proposal covering the offeror's capability, past performance, work plans or approaches, staffing resources, transition plans, or sample tasks. We could ask the offerors to present their technical proposal on paper, or we could ask them to present their technical proposals by oral presentation.
That's right. Think about it. We really don't need technical proposals to be submitted on paper for most of our acquisitions. With an oral presentation, especially one that isn't prescripted by the offeror, we can have a certainty that the information is coming from the offeror itself, from the company executives and key personnel in the room, rather than from a hired proposal writer.
FAR 15.102 provides helpful guidance on oral presentations. Please pause this video so you can read this text for yourself. As you can see, paragraph A tells us that oral presentations may substitute for written information and that oral presentations provide an opportunity for dialogue among the parties.
If you're afraid of oral presentations, it is probably because of that word, dialogue. But you don't need to be afraid of dialogue. After all, it's right in the FAR that dialogue is a part of oral presentations. And the FAR goes a step further. It speaks of interactive dialogue.
That's right, Trevor. Sometimes we do oral presentations as monologues, where the offeror speaks and the government listens and takes notes. But we can do dialogues, even interactive dialogues at oral presentations. And if our purpose is to help us select the very best contractor for the work, shouldn't we want to talk with offerors as part of the selection process?
When we coach our procurement teams, we share that there are two broad types of questions we can ask at oral presentations. First, standard questions that we ask of every offeror, and second, individualized questions that arise in only one offeror's oral presentation.
Let's start with the standard questions. Here are 3 ways to present standard questions, and we can use one, some, or all of these approaches. First, we can list the questions in the solicitation or otherwise provide them to offerors a few days or a week before the offeror's scheduled oral presentation. This allows an offeror to carefully consider the questions and to pre-script and rehearse its answers. Second, when the offeror shows up for its oral presentation, we give the team a list of questions and ask that they answer those questions. We can allow them a half hour or an hour to review those questions before the oral presentation begins. And third, we can interrupt an oral presentation already in progress and ask a standard question or two.
Now for the individualized questions. We can ask individualized questions on the spot during an oral presentation, based on information shared by the offeror during their oral presentation. These questions are not meant to challenge the offeror's approach or to get the offeror to change its approach, but to make sure that we fully understand the offeror's proposed approach or solution. We can ask these questions during the presentation or hold them all until the end.
And this is where we start addressing the fear factor, the fear of accidentally crossing the line into discussions. Our experience shows us that this fear is greatly exaggerated. We've had multiple post-award protests from unsuccessful offerors on our PIL acquisitions alleging that the exchanges at the oral presentations, where we ask individualized questions, constituted discussions. The GAO supported us and denied the protest every time. Here is the pertinent text extracted from one of these decisions.
That's a powerful decision. Just look at the keywords. Exchange occurred entirely within the confines of the 3-hour oral presentation session. Nothing said during the exchange revised any aspect of the firm's previously submitted proposal. The offer was not permitted to submit anything further to the agency. Not afforded an opportunity to revise anything that was said during the oral presentation or any of the firm's previously submitted proposal. We do not consider the exchange to have been discussions. Rather, we review it simply as a component of the oral presentation itself.
Another fear of oral presentations is that without a paper proposal, the government cannot defend an argument that an offeror did or did not adequately cover some material in an oral presentation.
Our experience shows us that this fear is also greatly exaggerated. We had a GAO post-award protest on exactly that issue. The GAO supported us and denied the protest. Again, let's look at the GAO's own words.
Let's look at the key words in this decision. According to Leidos, the protester, DHS misunderstood its approach. Leidos contends that its oral presentation fully addressed and provided details. To the extent the agency misunderstood Leidos' approach, the responsibility for providing a thorough, persuasive response to agency questions as part of an oral presentation falls on the offeror.
So the fears that seem to stop us from doing oral presentations don't hold up very well, do they?
No, they don't. There are risks, but those risks are small and entirely manageable. We do not want that inch of risk stopping us from getting a foot of benefits that can come from an oral presentation. Let's manage the risk, not avoid the risk, and when it makes sense, let's do oral presentations instead of paper technical proposals.
Another question that comes up is if the government is required to record the oral presentation. The short answer is no. We have to have a record, R-E-C-O-R-D, but the record doesn't have to be a recording. The FAR gives us several examples of possible ways to create that record, such as a video or audio recording, the offeror's presentation slides, government notes, or even the consensus evaluation report. This is the contracting officer's decision.
We've done 45-minute to all-day oral presentations and everything in between. We've done acquisitions where part of the technical proposal was submitted on paper and part by oral presentations. You just want to ensure that you reduce paper submissions, not duplicate paper submissions, by use of an oral presentation. Get the information you need to evaluate one way or the other, not both. Knowing this, we've also had teams that conducted acquisitions where the entire technical proposal was submitted by oral presentation. If you're planning an oral presentation, you have to make it fit your acquisition. Your procurement team, contracting officer, program manager, and attorney need to talk about it and make it fit. The reduction in paper really does make the evaluation and review processes much faster, and the interactive dialogue gives us much greater confidence that we are selecting the best contractor for the work.